Welcome back to another episode of Onward to Victory here on Blaze Radio. My name is Colgin Hirschel. Alongside me is Rhiannon Boesl and Taylor Gottney. We have a big show ahead of us as the Masters just finished up with 4 Arizona State athletes, as well as baseball continuing their interesting season. And that's exactly where we are going to start with Taylor Gottney, who was in Cincinnati calling the game for Blaze Radio. What did you see in that last weekend?
Yeah, it was a great trip for Jack Kemmler and I to call those games. Great opportunity, but not a great showing from ASU. In the first game went with Ben Jacobs, the ace that's been all year. He actually performed fine, 6 hits, 2 earned runs, 4 walks, and 3 strikeouts, threw 105 total pitches, so got through 5 innings of work against a really kind of, I don't want to say mid, but Cincinnati team that hasn't really performed to the level that they've expected to all year. And then after that, so ASU, here, quick story, ASU went up 4-0 early in the first due to 5 infield singles in a row. And then Cincinnati scored 2 in the first, but then Jacobs pitched a shutout. And then in the bottom of that 7th and 8th, Cincinnati scored 8 runs. And once again, to blame for the Sun Devil team, it's the bullpen. Josh Butler came in, 3 earned runs. Jonah Giblin, who's been amazing all year, really, before this game, 3 earned runs. So, again, that ASU bullpen in that first game really cost him.
Yeah, and it was much of the same for the rest of the weekend. Game 2, Arizona State did come away with the win. Made things interesting in the bottom of the 5th as they were up. They were up 5-2 in the bottom of the 5th. Let Cincinnati crawl back into it, make it 5-4, but scored 2 runs in the 6th, and then the 9-8 loss again on that Sunday matchup. They went down 4-0 before the 6th and never were able to rally back despite a 9th inning 3-run, which forced extras, which Cincinnati ended up walking off. And then today they lose to a much worse opponent in Purdue, who ended up walking it off again. So for the second straight game, Arizona State loses to a walk-off, and they've lost 4 of their last 7 games. So what started as an exciting season for Arizona State is slowly trending downhill.
Yeah, it's a little unfortunate to see the way that they're not, we were talking about it last week. We were hoping that they would be able to seal out the series, but it kind of seems like they kind of plateau during their games. Hopefully they could pick it back up as they go in to play Texas Tech, but the team has a potential. We have Landon Hairston, our freshman infielder. He had 2 runs against Cincinnati in their win, and he had his first career home run on Sunday in their second loss. So, we have some players that are kind of stepping up to the plate, but if they could just all collectively be on the same page and be able to close out, I think that would just help them a lot.
Yeah, and in that series, Kyle Walker had a great series, of course, hitting that home run in the top of the 9th to kind of give Arizona State some life. Like you said, Landon Harrison, first career home run, it was crushed. The way Cincinnati's ballpark was kind of laid out as the basketball arena was behind them in right field, and it went on the roof of that arena, so it was crushed. But I want to shout out a bullpen arm, Cole Carlone. He went through 4 innings, only giving up 1 hit, and had 6 strikeouts on 48 total pitches. He was really the only bright spot for this ASU bullpen this weekend. They just could not. It seemed like, especially Friday night, it was really cold, really windy. It seemed like the fastballs were working for the pitchers, but anytime they would go to the breaking stuff, it would almost skip in the dirt before it even got to the plate. And yeah, really, the middle part of the lineup really struggled. I mean, you look at Matt King, he had a great series. Kyle Walker had a great series. But New Contreras, before the 3rd game, didn't have a single hit. And Brandon Compton really struggled to get going. Of course, in that 2nd game, had one of the RBIs. But yeah, this ASU team, they get out to really hot starts, and like Rhiannon said, they really just plateau there in the middle innings, and then at the end against Cincinnati with that walk-off in the 3rd game.
Yeah, the guys you mentioned actually didn't have too bad of a game today. Kyle Walker went 1 for 3 with a double, and then Matt King went 2 for 5 with 2 doubles. So they really didn't have that horrible of a game today. They've honestly been carrying this team. The offense is needed to be the bright spot. Matt King so far in the Big 12, he has the second best batting average in the Big 12, and the team has the second most total bases within that conference as well. So the bats have been swinging. The pitches have not been flying well, though.
Yeah, and another interesting thing about that series is, like I said, it was really cold those first 2 games. The ball would almost die when it went up in the air. I remember Compton had one the first game where it was crushed and didn't get out to center field. Also, it was a very deep ballpark, 390 down the center, something that ASU isn't used to. And then Isaiah Jackson in the second game had another one that he thought it was gone. He started to walk down the first baseline and then got caught there in center field. So it's not an excuse. But with this new Big 12, it is interesting that ASU did have to travel that far. They had to play in conditions they're not really used to, especially in a long ballpark out there in Cincinnati. But it just wasn't a great series overall for the team.
Yeah, hopefully they can shake that off and come back on fire with Texas Tech. I mean, you've seen them like ball out like crazy before, and it's just like you guys said, it's just a pitch. If they can get that more consistent and more aggressive, I think that would benefit them a lot, because they have an aggressive offense, and just being able to just mesh together would just definitely make it a lot smoother and more competitive.
Yeah, next 5 games will be played at Phoenix Municipal. They got a home series against BYU, and then a random non-conference middle of the week 2-game series versus Long Beach State, which is going to be very interesting to see how they come out on that one. But over the weekend, we had a very big golf tournament. The Masters were on. It was a beautiful time to watch some golf. Had a crazy ending with Roy McIlroy winning in a playoff hole to win his first Masters. But for ASU, they had 4 of their 3 alumni and 1 current student playing in this tournament. Taylor, take us through that one.
Yeah, it was a great Masters. Rory McIlroy getting his Grand Slam, and the way it really shaped out, of course, Justin Rose going up big in that first round with a 65, 7 under, and then in that third round shooting a 75, 3 over, but then coming back to tie Rory McIlroy and force that playoff, but a great playoff hole. But yeah, ASU with 4 players, of course, the current student, Yoseli Ballester, his first appearance at the Masters, got to play.
Pissed away his opportunity, but
yeah, got to go due to his U.S. Amateur Golf Tournament win. Got his card for that event. Unfortunately, he didn't place high enough to keep his card. But in that first group with the 2024 current Masters winner, Scotty Scheffler, and then Justin Thomas, a big name, shot a 76 in round 1. Really struggled with the iron shots, the approach shots. Then 78 in round 2. In round 2, you could just tell that a lot of stuff wasn't going his way, so didn't play bad necessarily, but didn't play great. And yeah, all the controversy, of course,
he did not follow protocol.
Taking a leak in one of the lakes or the rivers out there at Augusta National, and then I think it's stupid, but a little bit of controversy for the upside down scripted hat.
I like my take on that whole thing. Obviously, that wasn't the biggest incident of the weekend, but I think that it's a tournament that is known for its respectfulness, and the people being you're not allowed phones at Augusta, you're not allowed to run, you're not allowed to wear backwards hat, even as a fan. And it's just kind of it's supposed to be respectful. It's supposed to be show off your pride, but don't do it in that way, because it's a new look. People don't like it, but I just think that they want to keep their peace at Augusta, and he definitely did not keep the peace this weekend.
Yeah, it was cool to see, though, of course, in that big group with the former winner and Justin Thomas. A lot of marketing for ASU, a lot of television time for Yoseli, but yeah, the backwards hat causing controversy. We saw it a few years ago with Jason Day. He wore not a polo, it was kind of like a sweater, and Augusta told him to change during the round. So
didn't a former ASU coach also get kicked out of Augusta for wearing was it pants or shorts?
I think it was some not formal clothing, but another Sun Devil that made another appearance. Of course, a live guy, a big name guy, John Rahm. He's the most recent Sun Devil to win that Masters. Of course, winning it in 2023, beating Phil Mickelson. who Phil Mickelson also made another Masters appearance. Seems these two guys, Mickelson a little bit on the older side, an absolute legend in the golf games, known for his crazy wedge shots, but Rahm just really didn't perform to the standard that he thought he would.
Yeah, and it's just really cool to see the way that like ASU's produce such great athletes. And if you look at their golf team right now, they actually just got first in the Thunderbird Collegiate tournament, and it's just really great. Like they just continue to like produce these great athletes, and like the way that they can represent, in these huge tournaments. Obviously, we were just discussing maybe not representing the greatest, but to be fair, like it's his first appearance, but hopefully he'll be able to have many more appearances and maybe redeem that. But yeah, it's really cool to see, and especially not just golf, but in all the other sports, seeing how they can represent ASU.
Not the only guy to make his debut in the Masters from Arizona State. You also saw Kevin Yu, who made his debut, also missed the cut. John Rahm was the only one of those four to make it past the second round. But Yu shot 76 in round one, 74 in round two. So it seemed as if everybody besides Boesl improved as they went on. Even John Rahm went 75, 71, 70, and then 69 in his last round. Finished 14th in the entire tournament. But it was overall a productive weekend for Arizona State within the golf. I mean, I know, Taylor, you're a big golfer. I like to golf as well, but you did it at a somewhat competitive level. Just like when a team has this many talent or this much talent come into a major tournament like that, what does that do kind of for the program in the school?
Yeah, and kind of correlating it back to when I played high school golf, having guys go to the D1 level, it just really it lifts the entire team up like, okay, some of our guys can do this. And yeah, like Rhiannon was saying, for this ASU men's golf team, they've performed really well. They just won another tournament. And going down the stretch of the season into the summer, there are a lot more tournaments coming up. And seeing your teammate, Boesl, get, that much recognition, that much, media attention, you might get a little bit jealous of him, but at the end of the day, he's going to come back to Phoenix and play for the Sun Devils and play as one of your teammates. So it's a great sight to see, and you got to be cheering for Boesl trying to get that PGA Tour card, as I'm pretty sure he's a junior or a senior in college, so about done with his time here. But yeah, it's just a great sight to see. It brings, a lot of attention. It's just like ASU making the playoff. People, of course, have heard of ASU before, but might not have known about how great of an athletic program they have. And people all around the country, all around the world, seeing a guy repping Arizona State Sun Devils gear in that big of a tournament, it's a great sight to see.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we've talked about it this whole year, just to see the way that ASU's really turned it around. Like, I don't think, if we're being 100% honest, that any of us came here expecting these types of seasons from all these sports, but it's just so amazing to see. And all the teams did a fantastic job recruiting and working in the transfer portal and having that success. I'm so interested to see how all the teams continue in their recruiting and looking at, other athletes. I think athletes from other schools were also very shocked to see how well ASU's been doing and how well their coaching is. And just, it's going to be, I think these next few years are going to be really, really interesting.
So we'll wrap up the first half of Onward to Victory here on this Monday evening. We'll be right back after this short break. Welcome back to Onward to Victory here on Blaze Radio. Now that we're back, we will discuss Peyton Crank, a senior outfielder out of Pinnacle High School in Arizona.
Yeah, so Peyton, she is just a beast. She is second in batting average, runs, and hits right now. Her batting average is .436, and she's tied in home runs with 5. She's ranked number 80 in Arizona, and she's currently committed to Utah. And I'd say softball is a pretty big sport here in Arizona, and the way that she's been able to just, be so aggressive, especially in her senior year, and be able to lead her team is just absolutely incredible. And it's really exciting to see what she'll be able to do in her career at Utah. Tonight, they're actually facing Boulder Creek, and Boulder Creek right now is 18-5, and Pinnacle is 9-6. So we'll see how that plays out. But yeah, she's also been seen in the USA 18U women's national team. So it's really going to be great to see how she just continues to pursue that in the collegiate level.
Yeah, and had a multi-home run game against O'Connor. Had 5 plate appearances, 2 hits, those 2 home runs. So has really been on a tear as of recently. That was on April 1st. So you can tell she's kind of kept excelling her game throughout the season. And you look at Utah softball, 12-30 on the season, 4-11 in a conference. Actually just got swept by ASU, and in those 3 games lost 7-1, 3-2, and then 7-2. So this Utah team really struggling, and I think Peyton Crank will be a perfect addition for them to kind of get going and compete in a competitive Big 12.
Yeah, she committed to Utah all the way back in 2023 on October 23rd. So she's been committed to Utah for quite some time now, but just yet another successful athlete to come out of Pinnacle High School. Shout out Treffin Rexius, Pinnacle High School legend over there. But it's good to see players coming out of Arizona high schools and succeeding, somewhat kind of staying in the area. Utah's somewhat close, but good to see successful athletes coming out of that school.
Yeah, she had her 120th career hit against that O'Connor team, and O'Connor is actually second in Arizona right now. They're ranked number 1 in 6A, and looking at the schedule and their rosters, and it did not look like they were going to win that game, and they came out and took the win. So, and for her to lead with those 2 home runs is absolutely incredible. And just a little fun fact about her, she actually won state for badminton as well. So she's just a great athlete representing, and yeah.
And you talk about Pinnacle High School. I mean, you look at, a few of their former alumni. You look at Spencer Rattler, a football player for the New Orleans Saints, probably going to be their starting quarterback. Brett Nicholas, a former MLB player, and Nico Mannion, a former NBA player, or a current NBA player who played for the Golden State Warriors and plays in Italy now. But yeah, it's great to see. We talk a lot about ASU, but I love giving kind of a spotlight to the high schools in the area as well, kind of that next level that hopefully we'll play at ASU or somewhere close so we can see them in Big 12 action.
Yeah, it's been a minute since we talked about one of these high schools too. I mean, it's a little harder once football season wraps up. I mean, there's so many different baseball teams that participate and all the softball teams that it's a little hard to track which players are actually, top of their class. But it's always good to give a small shout out to the local high schools, and because they're genuinely good. Arizona high school sports are underrated.
No, it's actually crazy, especially Pinnacle. I know is a really big sports school, but you see these teams. I was actually talking to a friend about this yesterday. These kids, they don't look like kids. They look like they're either already in college or they're professional athletes, and it's really great to see how schools are so willing, and their community is so willing to provide for the kids and allow them to, grow in their sport and get all the opportunities that they need and the facilities. And like you guys said, it's just, we get to talk about ASU, but it's super cool that we can give them a shout out as they continue to pursue their passion. So yeah, it's such a great opportunity.
So we'll shift from softball back over to the baseball field, where we will talk about an Arizona State alumni who is currently making his mark in the MLB, Spencer Torkelson of the Detroit Tigers, who was drafted first overall back in 2020 by the team in Detroit.
Yeah, and he's been on a tear recently. Look at his past 2 games against the Minnesota Twins. Had a home run on the 12th, another home run on the 13th. That one on the 12th was actually a 3 RBI home run, as the Tigers are currently playing the Brewers and winning 4-0. But, yeah, this guy has just been insane all year. We kind of saw him come into the spotlight last season. Got caught up in the minors, I believe, 2 years ago. And then, of course, the Tigers weren't that great, but then made the playoff run last season. We kind of saw him in the national spotlight. Currently tied 7th for 5 home runs with, big names, Jazz Chisholm, Kyle Walker, Jackson Churio, James Wood, Corbin Carroll, who plays right down the road. But, yeah, this guy is kind of cementing himself as one of the great first basemen in the MLB. And, yeah, so far he's been on a tear this season.
Yeah, he was actually voted for player of the game in their win against the Twins. And it's just like really great to see. You can see these baseball players like kind of just pop out of nowhere and start to show off and really make a big impact on their team. And right now they're actually playing the Brewers, which Diamondbacks just finished that series. They didn't do the most amazing in that series. They went 2-1, but they actually started with a big loss, 7-0. But back to Torkelson, it's just really cool to see, like, you know, he's kind of been in the league for a little bit, but now he's really showing off what he has to offer.
Yeah, just adding to the list of incredible baseball players to come out of Arizona State. You know, you got Barry Bonds, Reggie Jackson, all these guys that are, you know, superstars in their own right, and then you just add one more to that list that just – I have a question for you, Taylor. Do you think that they'll retire Torkelson's number?
I think it's kind of – it's a little early for that, but like if he keeps this up, you know, making the deep playoff run last season with the Tigers that no one expected, you know, and then showing out so far this season, it's just it's another great sight to see these guys in the spotlight. But you look at the retired numbers. I mean, you look at Dustin Pedroia, Barry Bonds, Reggie Jackson. Like, those are legends in MLB. Those are guys that played for so long, had such great careers. So it will be interesting to see if he can keep this up. You know, if they kind of give him that recognition. Of course, played in the celebrity softball game and had the walk-off home run to kick off the baseball season. So he's really involved again with the community, and I wouldn't be surprised if he won AL Player of the Week this week.
Yeah, just quickly touching on his stats at ASU. He played 129 games, had a .337 batting average, 168 hits, and 54 home runs, which is currently tied with his MLB totals. All of those stats were at Arizona State. He had the second most home runs in ASU's history, which is pretty impressive after the names that we just mentioned. So he definitely has been living up to the hype in the MLB. It's taken a couple of years. I definitely saw that there were bust rumors at the beginning of his tenure, but he's definitely started to turn a corner.
Yeah,
and I was just curious, like, if you think he's been with the Tigers all this time, and like you said, he's kind of just coming out of his shell right now. Do you think he's going to stay with Detroit, or do you think if he continues to excel, he might look at other options?
I mean, the MLB those guys move around so often. I'm not sure about his contract breakdown. He might still be on his rookie contract. Yeah, he's still on a 1-year, $785,000 contract. That's not a lot for MLB standards. So, I mean, it's going to be interesting. When he got signed, he got an $8 million signing bonus and then got signed to a $700,000 contract. So, like Colgin said, people thought, you know, he's a bust, not worth a number 1 overall pick. You look at past number 1 overall picks. I mean, Bryce Harper, Mike Trout, guys like that. Hasn't really lived up to that hype so far. But, I mean, at the end of this year, you know the Tigers are going to want to keep paying him. Really, the only player that the Tigers are paying right now is Javier Baez, which, if y'all keep up with MLB, he's one of the worst hitters in the entire league. But, yeah, I think if he keeps this up, if he kind of cements himself as a great first baseman, he could definitely get a contract extension.
So that'll wrap up this episode of Onward to Victory. I believe this is episode number 20 now with Onward to Victory. So we've done 20 of these in the past, but that will close this episode. For Blaze Radio, my name is Colgin Hirschel.
I'm Rhiannon Boesl.
And I'm Taylor Gottney.
Thank you very much for listening, and we'll talk to you next time.